Proposition 36, Three Strikes Law, Repeat Felony Offenders, Penalties, Initiative Statute. Plain language, loosen the Three Strikes Law. There are three categories of crime: felonies, misdemeanors, and infractions. The law breaks felonies up into three classes: felonies that are violent, such as murder, rape, or robbery; felonies that are serious, such as attempted murder, kidnapping, or arson; and felonies that are neither, such as grand theft or possession of a controlled substance. In 1994, Proposition 184 implemented California's Three Strikes Law as we know it today. It was intended to impose stronger laws for repeat felons. The first strike, whether the felony was serious, violent, or neither, results in the regular prison sentence for the crime committed. The second strike, if the previous strike was serious or violent, results in a double sentence for any new felony, whether or not the new crime is violent, serious, or neither. The third strike, if the offender has two or more previous serious or violent convictions, for any new felony, even if it isn't violent or serious, results in life in prison with the option for parole after 25 years. There are 137,000 inmates in the California prison system. 33,000 of them are second strikers and 9,000 of them are third strikers. The state prison system budget is $9 billion. Proposition 36. What does it do? Right now in California, if you get three strikes, as they say, the third strike will land you in prison for life. Proposition 36 would change this so that a person would only get life in prison if the third strike was serious or violent. Prop 36 allows resentencing for anyone currently serving life in prison if their third strike wasn't violent or serious, and if a judge decides that the resentencing wouldn't be a risk to public safety. Prop 36 retains the life in prison rule if the third strike involved certain sex crimes, drug crimes, or if it involved firearm possession. It also retains the life in prison rule even if the third strike was non-violent or non-serious, if either of the prior strikes were for rape, murder, or child molestation. Fiscal impact. It is estimated that this proposition would cost a few $1,000,000 over the next couple of years for the resentencing of current prisoners that fit the new criteria, but that over time, California would save $70 to $90 million in prison and parole expenses, since it would free up space in prisons and lessen the number of inmates to support. Long story short, this bill would eliminate the life in prison rule for criminals whose felonies are not serious or violent or involve certain sex, drugs, or firearm offenses. This law would apply to future and past offenders. Instead of a life sentence for the third strike, convicted felons would receive twice the prison sentence for the crime committed. The yes side. Prop 36 makes the punishment fit the crime. Precious financial and law enforcement resources should not be improperly diverted to impose life sentences for some nonviolent offenses. Prop 36 will assure that violent repeat offenders are punished and not released earlier. It will stop clogging overcrowded prisons with nonviolent offenders so we have room to keep violent felons off the street. Prop 36 saves over $100 million every year, money that could be used to fund schools, fight crime, and reduce the state's deficit. If Prop 36 isn't passed, the California State Auditor projects that taxpayers will pay millions to house and pay healthcare costs for the nonviolent three strikes inmates. Prop 36 requires that murderers, rapists, child molesters, and other dangerous criminals serve their full sentences. And they say Prop 36 will punish repeat offenders of nonviolent, non-serious crimes by doubling their state prison sentences. Today, dangerous criminals are being released early from prisons because jails are overcrowded with nonviolent offenders who pose no risk to the public. People convicted of shoplifting a pair of socks, stealing bread, or baby formula don't deserve life sentences. And for the nays. If this passes, about 3,000 convicted felons serving life terms under the Three Strikes Law could petition for a reduced sentence. Some of them would be released without parole or any state enforcement supervision. They say Prop 36 is totally unnecessary. Prosecutors and judges already have the power to implement the Three Strikes Law at their discretion. In fact, it reduces their ability to use three strikes to target dangerous repeat felons and get them off the street once and for all. Every major law enforcement organization and victim rights group opposes Prop 36. Prop 36 won't reduce taxes. More crime costs taxpayers too. In 1994, voters overwhelmingly passed the Three Strikes Law. Since that happened, our state's crime rate has plummeted and remained low even during the current recession because most of the time the crimes were committed by the same criminals cycling through our courts and jails over and over again. Who does Proposition 36 apply to? Criminals so dangerous to society that a district attorney chose to charge them with a 3 strikes offense. Criminals so dangerous that a judge agreed with the DA's decision to charge them. Criminals so dangerous that a jury convicted them of that offense. Criminals so dangerous that a judge imposed a 25-year to life prison sentence. Criminals so dangerous that their appeals were denied. And after all that, Proposition 36 would let those same criminals ask a different judge to set them free. When they get out, these hardened criminals will just commit more crimes and end up right back in prison. To me, this is largely a non-issue. If Prop 36 passes, violent and serious felons will still receive the full extent of the 3 strikes law. Non-violent and non-serious felons will still receive stiff penalties for their felonies. It's just that instead of life in prison for their 3rd drug conviction, they'll receive a double sentence. That's still a long time in prison. I did have a question, and I called the Yes on Prop 36 campaign about it. I'd always thought that the 3 strikes law was mandatory and affected everyone, but apparently it is the county's DA that determines whether or not to apply 3 strikes to a felon. Some lax DAs will give a criminal a lesser charge or waive the strike if they feel the crime doesn't warrant the strike, and other stricter DAs will send a Kmart shoplifter to prison for 25 years to life. The Yes on 36 campaigner explained to me that Prop 36 would just standardize the process so that the punishment would fit the crime regardless of the strictness of the DA. A yes vote on Prop 36 will slightly weaken the 3 strikes law so that people with nonviolent and non-serious crimes won't necessarily get life in prison, and a no vote keeps things the way they are now, with a DA ultimately deciding who will get the full weight of the book thrown at them and who won't. I think I'm going to vote yes on this because a double sentence seems plenty enough time, in my opinion, for a nonviolent, non-serious crime, although I won't need any Kleenex if Prop 36 is defeated. After all, don't do the crime if you can't do the time.